Hey everyone, we're back with another week of Find Your Film. You know what? I'm just going to again, Eric Holmes, I apologize to you. I didn't give you time enough to rename your name. Usually every week, if you listeners, if you actually watch our podcast via our YouTube channel on Deepest Dream, you'll get to see all the renames that we do. Bruce Perky, co-host Bruce Perky, is calling himself Symbio Taxi-Perko, and that is an allusion to a Criterion film or a Criterion release that he is going to be covering for his What's in the Box segment. So it's a meta kind of film. Basically, we're recording a podcast. Is someone actually recording us recording a podcast, and someone shooting it? There are so many layers to this movie that Bruce Perky will cover to close out the show. Eric Holmes, do you want to rename yourself? Do you want as the Green Knight or the Green Holmes, or I'm trying to think of a name for you, the Assassination Holmes Bureau, the Bureau Holmes? I'm just going to be Greg Swarovski because I don't have, maybe I'll just call myself Lala Greg or something like that, because that's going to be some, speaking of which, we're going to do some Lala later this episode. You're going to know what it is. Hint, it's a musical. Hint, it stars Ryan Gosling. Hint, it also stars Emma Stone. And so Bruce has a lot to cover this week. Okay, we have a lot of films to cover. We have Joe Bell, the Mark Wahlberg movie that's based on a true story. How It Ends, a movie that Bruce and I will be covering. It's exactly how it ends in L.A. Bruce, does anybody walk in L.A.? What do you think?
Only the missing persons walk in LA.
Only the missing persons. Dry wit times dry wit equals fun. Speaking of fun, we're also, all three of us have seen Mandibles. Bruce and I exactly know how each other feels about Mandibles, but Eric Holmes does not. He actually strayed away from character and decided not to actually, or I didn't even read the thread on our Facebook, whether he loves it or not. He's going to surprise us. He's pulling a Bruce Perky. We have no idea if Eric Holmes is a huge fan of Mandibles. He might pull a twist on us, because last week I thought it was Eric Holmes who was going to go gaga crazy over Pig, and to clean up that wonderful slop, it was me and Bruce saying all the beautiful things. Eric, by the way, still liked Pig, but I was surprised that he was the one who wasn't as excited as me or Bruce. I'm going to bet, Bruce, what do you think? Do you think Eric Holmes will love it even more than me and you, Mandibles? What do you think? What are the odds? Or is he going to pick us again?
I don't know, man. He's got a good poker face today. He's gaga all over this thing. I don't know what to say.
He's got, okay, and Eric is being very tight-lipped about this. Speaking of tight-lipped, there's going to be a certain twist in our episode. Rounding out the rear, I don't know why I like to keep saying that, is Eric Holmes and Bruce Perky with that ectoplasm, whatever name he's called this week. They're going to finish out our featured reviews with a new film called Twist, which I believe is either a modern or an almost modern retelling of Oliver Twist. I don't read books, Bruce. Do you? Who wrote that book? Was that was it Tom Clancy? Did Tom Clancy write this Oliver Twist thing? Who did it? Do you guys?
Eric? I think it was Andy Dick.
Andy Dick.
Dean Koontz.
Dean Koontz. Dean Koontz. I thought maybe Agatha Christie will take a stab, and maybe. Oh, you know what? I know who did it. I know who wrote Oliver Twist. It's the illusionist, guys. The magician, the good-looking magician. David Copperfield is the actual author of Oliver Twist. Right, Bruce? Is that correct? Am I correct on that?
No. It was Cousin Oliver from the last season of the Brady Bunch.
I thought it was Korn that wrote it.
Very, very Korn. And then we went to new metal or alt metal. I don't know, whatever that metal is. That was our Dickensian round of dry wit, and I hope you still stay on the show and listen to our reviews.
Dickensian
humor with the dry wit. I don't know if that adds up. Does that add up to anything, Bruce? What do you think?
I don't know. I only know is that Greg does it all for the cookie and the nookie.
Very good, Bruce. Okay, actually, I'm sorry, Eric. I'm going to say this. Bruce is our voice of reason. Bruce is also our archivist. Not, you're going to be our voice of reason. Eric is the ringmaster, because he actually, since Bruce, you and I really don't have any friends, we just stay to ourselves. Eric is the one who brings people in, so you're the voice of reason and the archivist. What are we celebrating with this episode, Bruce? Can you tell our listeners what we're celebrating?
I believe this week is the official 1-year anniversary of the official beginning of Find Your Film, when it actually was its own named podcast.
Right. Wow. Eric, have we grown as friends and cinephiles over the year, or have we undoubtedly regressed as a collective? What do you think?
Probably moved a bit sideways, which is good.
Sideways is good. Yeah, again, we all know that Eric Holmes will leave. Will leave this podcast, this Find Your Film podcast, once it reaches episode 669 or 666. Just remember, there will be an opening when 666 or 669 episode.
Thankfully,
What?
we've been doing the director's spotlights, which kind of, and then the random interview, so that kind of threw off our episode number. So, and I think you did that on purpose because you're like, if we do it, if we number these, as soon as you hit 69, Eric's out.
Yes, definitely. That first number up to 100 with a 69. Thankfully I mixed things up with you. Thankfully, but you know what? The number of the beast is coming. Well, time flies very fast. We never know. Okay. Anything else we need to talk? Oh, also, a little plug on our podcast feed. I finally, after about 6 months, we actually taped this Kubrick episode 6 months ago. Just kidding, about 3 weeks ago. That's not kidding. With Anderson Cowan, our good friend from Cinematics, The Film Vault, director of Groupers, The After Disaster. He talks about his passion for the Stanley Kubrick films Lolita and Spartacus. Very good. Take a listen to our podcast feed. The only caveat is that you have to, I would suggest you've watched at least both of these movies, because we do talk a little bit about spoilers. Bruce, do you think Eric Holmes should finally, before even, we have a lot of work to do reviewing this episode, reviewing the films this episode. Then after this, we have to find new films for next week. But before that, do you think Eric Holmes should watch Barry Lyndon sooner than later? Because I'm trying to say this is just the best film ever by who's that guy's name? It's not Charles Dickens. Oh, Stanley Kubrick. Don't you think Barry Lyndon is high up there, or am I just off my gourd?
I think you should watch Caveat, because he keeps saying that word and he hasn't watched that movie.
I almost watched it. I almost watched it this week, and I don't have Shudder anymore, so I got to get Shudder.
Oh,
I was like, oh shoot, we're doing the thing tomorrow. I'm gonna watch Caveat. Blah blah blah. Please redo the. Oh shit. Okay. Well, so I'll figure that out this week, and I'll for sure watch Caveat next week, or by next week.
You deciding not to have Shudder on your streaming services, like me taking my Brian De Palma Blu-rays and hawking it at my local store. It just doesn't make sense.
I got a new card, and I never went back and re-entered the numbers on there. So
okay, cool.
That was the thing that happened.
Okay, you're going to be back on Shudder sooner than later.
Yeah.
Bruce, do you have any Shudder? Have you been watching a lot of stuff on Shudder as well, or have you been ignoring that service this week? You've just been other things you had to watch.
No, I've watched a few things on there. A couple of them haven't quite made the cut. So, but and I've got 3 or 4 flagged. I just had a very busy week this week, so I didn't have time to do Shudder.
But you had time to do La La Land. I mean, listeners, if you actually look at my at the YouTube video, I have a little poster of La La Land here. This is actually, I'm a member of the Critics' Choice. And you have the Blu-ray. You know what? That's, okay, Bruce, stop trying to be populist. I'm trying to humble brag, being a little horrible the critic. I got this as part of my Critics' Choice thing. By the way, this La La Land poster, if you see on your YouTube, it's only 1 of 600 made. What do you think of that? Yeah,
this is a pretty cool looking poster.
Yes, you know what? I can't wait till you get to your review, because you haven't even said whether you love La La Land or not. Eric Holmes, do you love it or not? La La Land, what do you think? Yes,
I did. I went and took my sister to it when it came out, and it was pretty good. That Damien Chazelle guy is pretty good.
Pretty good. Okay, you know what? We're gonna get to La La Land, all that stuff. First off, let's get to Joe Bell.
Well,
Can you just give me a second?
that goddamn TV ain't gonna watch itself.
Oh, Mom already knows.
Knows what? What?
Knows that I'm getting picked on by these guys at school.
Why is that?
I don't know, because I'm not like them.
It's got to be more than that. That doesn't make any sense. Why aren't you like
Because
them?
I'm different.
Because why?
Because I'm not like them.
That's not an answer, Jade. No, it doesn't make any sense.
Because I'm gay.
Joe Bell starts Mark Wahlberg. This felt like, to me, upon watching the trailer, an after-school special movie. By the way, folks, they were just singing just while I was coughing up a storm. By the way, I did notice that you guys did. I've started the Billy Jack edit. By the way, we're gonna release the Billy Jack review discussion with Travis Stansberry and one of the lead actors in Anderson Cowan's film Groupers. I noticed there were a couple of times when Eric or Bruce, if I recall, they did hum a little bit for a couple of seconds, and I knew, oh, I gotta edit that. But then I'm gonna get back to editing. So you guys trying to sneak? I'm editing it. I'm watching you guys with all that music licensing thing you guys are doing. You criminals.
So
Joe
say
Bell.
10 seconds, it'll be all right.
That's what, you know what? That's usually my opening line. Okay, so Joe Bell hits theaters.
You son of a bitch.
Okay, and thank you, Eric Holmes, for laughing, and thank you, Bruce Berkey, for admittedly just shaking your head. Okay, so Joe Bell, it opens in theater July 23rd. I really thought this was going to be an after-school special. Here we go. Joe Bell, Mark Wahlberg plays a titular character. He is a small-town guy, hard-working blue-collar man. His son is gay. Okay, his son's gay. He loves his son. He accepts his son being homosexual. Okay, that's the first thing. Second thing is, by the way, Connie Britton from Friday Night Lights, she plays Joe Bell's wife, based on a true story. The thing is, there's one thing about accepting your son or your child, your son or daughter, as gay. There's another level of actually what happens when you're out in society, what happens when you're at a school function or you're at a parents' meeting or whatnot. Are you proud of your children no matter what their sexuality is? And Joe Bell, he was trying to figure that out. He was trying to figure, he loves his son, but he is afraid for his son's safety with his son being gay. So that out of that kind of overprotection comes a little bit of maybe overbearing TLC. And sometimes that comes across as very argumentative. That is the premise of Joe Bell. Joe Bell decides to go on a walk from all across America, just walking across America. And with every stop, he wanted to actually go to help groups or talk to, most importantly, schools about the importance of bullying, the negative effects of bullying, because of what the effects of bullying placed upon his son. So that is the premise of Joe Bell, again, based on a true story. I can't wait to give my opinion of this movie, which again, I thought it was going to be a heavy-handed drama, but actually it became something else. I'm going to start with you, Bruce Berkey, on Joe Bell, your initial thoughts. You were the first one to see this movie.
I think it's okay. I think it definitely goes above what it could have been and what you were worried about it being. And I knew nothing about the real life story, so I was actually affected by the quote twist, which you said you already knew, so that may or may not affect you. I liked it better when the twist occurred, and after that, I liked the rest of the story a little bit more. My biggest reservations, I would say, in this movie are, first of all, the focus is on Joe Bell, which is the dad, and him, like, you know, fighting against bullying and kind of you're going forward and backward in time and kind of watching his struggle with how to kind of come to terms and to accept his son. And immediately my thought is, well, we're looking at the wrong person. Like, why are we focusing on this guy? You know, he's not really the story. The story is the kid. And the kid was the actor that plays the kid.
Reed Miller, I believe, right? Reed
yeah,
Miller.
he's excellent. He's really good.
Very good. He's the best part of the movie.
I agree.
I think.
Yeah. And he definitely brings some gravitas to this. And I guess Mark Wahlberg, bless his heart, in the Southern way, he tries to be gritty. He tries to be, you know, warts and all. The character is like down home and downer. I mean, everything's done in a really very, very realistic, grounded fashion, but I just don't think he's up to the task. And there's a short scene with him and Gary Sinise, and just seeing Gary Sinise with him for that moment just highlighted to me, like, oh, this is what a really good actor looks like compared to Mark Wahlberg. So I think that's his major detriment, is Mark Wahlberg isn't really quite up to task, but it's a good try. And the movie itself, I would give it a mild recommend, because it has a good heart and it does tell a really interesting story. And it does have some emotional moments, I think, that actually kind of hit. So I'd say a mild recommend for me.
Mild recommend. Eric Holmes, your thoughts? Joe Bell.
I'm not a good actor. What are you saying, Bruce? I thought we was buds. Joe Bell should have been called No Shit, the movie.
Wow. Okay.
The lessons learned in this are quite obvious, but this is not a movie for me. This is a movie, and I think a very important movie for other people. There's a part in Joe Bell where his son there's a couple guys, oh, well, we don't like them gays coming on in here. What you want? I mean, and then Joe Bell just leaves, and his son's like, look, you go around, you keep talking to all these people on all these stops. Those are the people you need to be talking to. And I think that's what Joe Bell is. Joe Bell's, it's not a movie for me. I know this, it's not, it might not be a movie for you guys. You know this lesson already. But I think that this movie will appeal to the people that need to learn this lesson. If this was a movie about his son, the people that need to learn the lessons, like, oh no, look, I don't care who you bang, just keep it out of my face, that sort of thing. But this kind of does that. It goes, slips under the cracks, and it kind of tricks certain people, might trick certain people into eating their vegetables, because they'll see themselves as Joe Bell. They'll be like, yeah, see, he's doing this part. He doesn't care if he's gay, but then they don't realize that he's not doing enough. And then as they go, I think they can really latch onto his character. And then as it goes on, then you start seeing how his son's being hurt by this. Oh, yeah. And I think that the people that need to see this movie will be taken in with what it is. And then the vegetables will kind of be snuck little by little onto their plate until by then, who knows, that this could be a movie that changes people. It's definitely saccharine. It's definitely not for me, but I don't need to learn this lesson. And I think the people that do will eat this up and go, I saw this movie, Joe Bell, and it's a really good movie, and you should check this one out. Because this is the kind of movie that does that, and those people kind of, make that sort of conversation about. So good on Joe Bell, and good on the filmmakers for doing this, and I hope it works as intended.
So this movie is written by the Brokeback Mountain team, Diana Osana and Larry McMurtry. It's directed by Reynaldo Marcus Green, and it comes out Friday, July 23rd. Surprise, I ended up liking this movie more than both of you. One of the reasons why I really enjoyed this, actually, surprisingly so, I give this a solid recommend. Joe Bell, played by Mark Wahlberg. Yeah. When anyone, unless you're Tom Hanks, if you're sitting next to Gary Sinise, good shot that he's gonna blow you out of the water. It's like A++ acting, and Mark Wahlberg tries his best. He does a good job as Joe Bell. They portray Joe Bell as a person. They could have made this a very, you were mentioning saccharine, Eric. Yeah, I mean the message, we've heard it before, and some people really need to hear this, but it goes certain ways where they didn't make it overly saccharine, meaning they could have made Joe Bell almost a saint. They could have covered up a lot of his flaws, and they could have made all these really grandstanding speeches about bullying in the movie. And there are a couple of speeches, but it's not slathered in honey and all that stuff. It's actually a well done, and in my opinion, resonant drama. Connie Britton is very good, but like Bruce, you were saying, the star of this movie is Reed Miller as Jaden Bell. Fantastic in Joe Bell. So yeah, that is a slight recommend from Bruce. That is a recommend.
I'd say it's a recommend. The people that need to see this, they're not going to watch Brokeback, and they're not going to watch Boys Don't Cry, and they're but they'll probably watch Joe Bell, and there's something to be said about that. And it was recommend.
Yeah. Also, Bruce, you said you actually went into this movie cold, and there's something that surprised you. Yeah. I went into this movie relatively cold. There is something that actually did surprise me as well. And I went, what the heck? Okay, so I didn't read Joe Bell's full story. Listeners, if you can, before you actually watch Joe Bell, if you go to the theaters, do not read the story of Joe Bell before. What do you think, Bruce? Don't read Joe Bell's story before watching this movie. It would be interesting too.
Yes, because what Eric said, and I thought about the exact thing Eric was saying, so I highlight what he says. He is exactly right. I thought about that at the time. I remember thinking, this is made for, it's like an entry level on this issue. But no, I think if you go in blind, especially for the audience that work best on, I think it'll have the biggest impact, because when certain things happen about halfway through and then happen towards the end, I think they'll get a bigger impact, and it will. If they were resistant or kind of like, well, why do I care about this? Then all of a sudden it'll be like, oh, now I do care a little more. So, yeah.
Has there been a film this year, guys, that you've related to the most? Eric, Bruce, just right off the top of your head, anything? that you really felt?
PG Psycho Gorman.
Probably
PG
Sam and
Psycho.
Maddie.
I think that's the correct answer for you, Bruce, because you really. Which yes, what were you gonna say?
Sam and Maddie make a zombie movie.
Oh yeah, that's a great movie. That's a very cool movie. Yeah.
I mean, the documentary is cool, but specifically the movie.
Well, there's a movie that I absolutely related to, and maybe this is one of the reasons why I don't have a significant other in my life. There's a movie called Mandibles. It opens everywhere July 23rd. It's how long, Bruce, is this? It's 77 minutes.
Yeah, it's like
This
an
is-
hour and 11 minutes or 12, 17 minutes. Yeah.
Yeah, 77 minutes. It says when simple-minded friends Jean Gab and Maru find a giant fly trapped in the boot. In the boot of a car, they decide to train it in the hope of making a ton of cash. So basically, two simpletons find a giant fly in the back of their car and they decide to train it. Written and directed by Quentin Dupieux or Dupeau. I should have actually asked when I interviewed him how to pronounce his last name. He's best known for the movie Rubber and a bunch of other movies. He's a critically acclaimed filmmaker, but I don't know. I think a lot of people might be turned off by the sheer preposterous notion of this plot. But this is it. 77 minutes. The plot line is exactly what you're going to see. Two dudes trying to train a fly. I'm gonna save my reactions. Well, let's go with you first, Bruce, and then let's have Eric have his final reaction on this one.
Oh, darn, I got to go again first. Well,
yeah.
Well, it's no secret because we kind of talked about this already. I really love this movie. I like it a lot, but it is definitely not for everybody. This could just be seen as stupid, dumb, not funny,
Offensive, maybe.
or what else? What did you say?
Offensive, possibly.
Maybe a little bit, sure. But I loved what I loved about this movie is that so it starts out and these are some of my favorite dumb characters in a long time. Two dumb characters that are just doing one dumb thing after another. But I just love the setup. The setup is, hey, all you got to do is take the suitcase, put it in the trunk of your car, take it to another place, and we're going to give you money. Don't look at it. Cool, great. So he steals a car, and that's what they're going to do. And then they find the fly, and it's like, then they get derailed. Oh, okay. We got this fly. Hey, we can make more money. We don't have to take the suitcase anywhere. We can make more money by training this fly to do stuff. And then, hey, look, there's a trailer over there. And I'm not going to say what else happens, but the whole movie is them just, it's almost like they're like dogs. Like they have one thing they're going to go do, and then they look over and they see a squirrel. Like, oh, hey, there's a squirrel over there. And they get on the way to the squirrel and they look over. Oh, wait. Oh, there's a chipmunk. I'm going to go after the chipmunk now. Like the whole movie is them just getting distracted by one dumb thing after another. And honestly, for me, this is kind of one of those movies where just being with these two guys, wherever they're at, is fun. And when a third character, when Agnes comes into this movie,
Played by Adele Exarchopoulos, and she's best known for her work in Blue is the Warmest Color.
when she comes into this, that is the magic ingredient that just, for me, sent it to, I was in love at that point. Totally.
By the way, Agnes, listeners, when she enters the frame, she's actually friends, or she lives in this house. It's a really bougie house right up in the mountains. It's really, really gorgeous little sort of a even a mini mansion. It's just a beautiful home. There's a pool, and these two guys, they just, I guess by happenstance, they just stumble onto this whole weird bourgeois unit. And Adele as Agnes, she enters the frame yelling at the top of her lungs, and she's yelling because that's the tenor of her voice, because of I think Bruce, because of an accident or something like that.
Yeah, like a traumatic brain injury or something.
Yeah, and she is yelling throughout the entire narrative, and that will either offend you or make you almost howl with laughter and make you want to actually see this movie again. So Bruce,
last thing, strong recommend for me, but this with the caveat, because we say caveat in every episode, with the caveat that this is definitely not going to be some people's tone. I would say this is one where you could almost watch a little bit of the trailer, and if that tone doesn't work for you, probably just bug right out, because it's not going to be for you. The last thing I'll say, and then it's all Eric, this literally sticks the landing beautifully.
Yes, beautiful. And by the way, the fly, it's not CGI. It just, you can actually feel like you can touch a fly. It feels good. It's good, right? It's the way they do the fly is very.
It's preposterous, but it's great. Yeah.
Yeah. And you know what's also, before we get to you, Eric, the humor and some of the stuff, it doesn't go as overboard as you think. it's just a funny movie. To me, it doesn't go completely crazy. It just, at least I thought so. I thought it was grounded in some measure. Now, strong recommend for me. I love everything about this movie. I want to see this again. The director is talking about a sequel to the movie where we'll have the two guys on a new adventure. Okay, possibly without the fly. Oh, so we'll see where that goes. Eric Holmes, your final take. Strong recommends from me and Bruce. Would love to hear what you think about this movie.
Well, I did change my name, but before you look at that,
Oh, very good.
Toro.
Toro.
Yeah. I saw Rubber a long time ago, and it was fine, but it wasn't like, it was like cool, entirely kills people, but it never really grabbed me. So I never followed his other movies until now, and so I was kind of like, I'm sure this will be fine. This movie was pretty great. The characters were so stupid, and the characters are offensive, but they're so stupid that like they're almost kind of harmless. It's like, they'll say something offensive. It's like, "Aw, you're stupid." So it's hard to take them too seriously. The Fly looked freaking awesome. Just I imagine it's probably like a practical effect, maybe some CG thrown in there somewhere. I have no idea.
The only CG was the legs, but everything else was practical.
Oh, for real? All right.
Yeah.
Good. And Agnes, yeah, she was really good. I really liked her a lot. Yeah,
it's such a cheap joke, but it works, man.
Bruce put the thing up in the message, just a picture of her, and I thought it was like some outtake of Midsummer or something. I didn't know what it was. He's like, "When you know, you'll know." And I got to the part, and I'm like, "Okay, I know what he's talking about now." And then I started immediately thinking of a voice modulation guy from SNL. "How dare you, Colin? This is my regular speaking." But yeah, this movie was like it was weird like Rubber, but this one seemed to have more of a point to it, where Rubber just seemed kind of weird for weird's sake. And I'm sure there's more to it. Things go over my head all the time, and that might have been something else that did. But this this seemed to have much better characters, for one, like by a lot. The characters in this movie were great. It in a lot of ways reminded me of Greasy Strangler. Not same story or anything, but just the way out there characters. And, this had that sort of thing. And like Bruce said, this is going to be a movie people are either going to love or nope, not for me. One of the two. I just happened to land in the definitely for me category with this one. And I guess now I got to go back and watch the rest of Quentin Dupieux.
You pronounce it better than me.
I don't even know if I pronounced it right, but I tried.
I think I tried it as well. Yeah.
But I need to check out the rest of his oeuvre and see if there's any other gems in there, because I like this one quite a bit. And yes, the ending did stick the landing. And I don't know what a sequel to this would be, but I can't imagine The Fly would not be in it.
Ooh, good point. Good point. I mean, Quentin was saying that maybe The Fly wouldn't be there, but maybe you're right. It's probably inevitable that The Fly should return. What do you think, Bruce? If they did a sequel, should The Fly be there? Or are the two guys enough by themselves?
They're great, but I think just seeing them try to achieve some of the things they want to achieve with The Fly could be gold. I would watch it. I would watch another movie where they're just, maybe they have the goal is just to get it to a bank, and the whole movie is them just on their way to try to get there, distracted from one thing to another on the way. Because this is one of those journey films, right?
Yeah.
There really is no point. It's just the journey with these guys.
Maybe he'll do a movie called Mandibles versus Rubber.
He could, like I bet
Kong, Godzilla v Kong, but it's like a fly in a
spares in the trunk.
There you go.
So the two guys they're named Manu. Manu's played by Gregor Ludig, and Jean Gab played by David Marseille, and again Agnes played by Adele Exarchopoulos. Now I was thinking my pitch is let's have a road movie with Bob Hope, Bing Crosby, and Dorothy Lamour, but instead this one you'll have Manu, Jean Gab, and Agnes going on the road. That would be hilarious. Actually, you know what? Just Agnes for 77 minutes yelling. I give that movie 5 stars already. I don't know.
Well, that's what I said. I want to see like famous scenes, but Agnes is in them. Like just pick your famous movie scenes like for 3 minutes each and throw her in there.
Yeah, if you do a sequel to this without Agnes, that's like textbook missed opportunity.
Yes, text it is. It's I don't know. Is this low hanging fruit humor or is it good humor? Because what is it?
I
It
think it's just
works.
I think it's someone that understands certain characterizations pretty well.
Very good.
Like they do stupid stuff and they're in a weird world and they're weird characters, but the stuff that they do is like, I know some idiots that would that would fall for that, or I know some idiots that would pull that off, or think that way. So
I will defend this as well written in this aspect. It's silly and low hanging fruit in the way they're presented, but I think it's intelligently written because it takes these characters, it takes it from the point of view of like, here's these characters in the world, how would they react with the situation, and it goes with them in a way they would naturally go, as opposed to forcing them because the plot wants them to go places. Right. And I think that's what makes it great. So to me, it's kind of like we talked about with Death of Dick Long. Like there's a couple characters that did made a bunch of really bad decisions, but it made sense with their characters. So in that sense, I think it's good writing, but it may not be everyone's style. Yeah. It is our style.
Yeah, this definitely has kind of a Wes Anderson feel to it, which also worried me at the beginning because I'm not a Wes Anderson fan. So I was like, oh no. But yeah, this one definitely won me over.
Okay, so Mandibles. Yes, Mandibles. By the way, spoiler alert, Mandibles. When you think of Mandibles, you're thinking, does that have any kind of relation to The Fly? Well, you're going to find out why Mandibles is called Mandibles in the movie, and we're not going to spoil it for you. So that's another really wonderful treat. And like Bruce said, this is a movie that definitely sticks to landing. If you want to check it out, it's in theaters and it's everywhere. I'm assuming on demand starting July 23rd. Another film that's out Friday, July 23rd, but most of you will see this on Prime Video come August 6th. The week of August 6th, by the way, we will have a special, instead of our weekly Find Your Film thing on that week, the first week of August, we will be doing something I believe Bruce called Valapalooza, and that is going to be a spotlight on the work of Val Kilmer, where I think we're still hashing it out. We're going to maybe dive a little bit deeper on the documentary Val because it comes out on Amazon Prime Video that week, and then each of us will either have one or two Val Kilmer recommendations to have as well, to just flesh out that entire Val Kilmer episode. But for the purposes of this show right now, since the documentary is coming out in select theaters July 23rd, we want to actually give you guys a little bit of a sneak little review on Val, which is actually I just read this. The cinematographer for Val is actually Val Kilmer, because a lot of this movie is based on his hours upon hours of footage, home video footage that he's shot since he was a kid, growing up in Chatsworth, California, all the way up to present day. Mr. Eric Holmes, I'm sure you're a huge Val Kilmer fan. How did this movie actually, Eric, you're the first person to actually watch Val. So we'd love to hear your thoughts if this documentary worked for you.
Yes, I did. But I mean, I'm a big fan of his, watching him show up in The Birthday Cake and having heard him going through the throat cancer and stuff, and just seeing him work in The Birthday Cake, even limited with his voice, it made me happy to see that he's still been able to do stuff. And then watching how he kind of takes his health in stride, his health problems in stride, looking back on his career, having his son narrate for him, since he can't talk real well. That was awesome. I mean, it was like right there. You want to talk about low-hanging fruit, but that low-hanging fruit hit me right in the gut, and it totally worked for me. This whole movie worked for me. And then even seeing getting behind-the-scenes stuff, movies he's been in, specifically The Island of Dr. Moreau.
Yes.
I'll leave that there, but you guys know what I'm talking about. There was a particularly, I mean, that whole section was just ripe with that could have been its own documentary right there. But yeah, this was real good. Kind of a puff piece, but there was enough there that's worth sinking your teeth into. And if you're a Val Kilmer fan, I mean, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, Bruce, did you see this as a puff piece, or what did you think?
No, I thought, well, I mean, it's not like a deep expose or anything. So I guess in that sense, yes. But I mean, this is more of like an autobiography retrospective. But the advantage it has is, say you take a retrospective of whatever actor you have, and then say, as you start hitting each of those like prime movies in their career, you have all the behind scene footage that they shot. And that's essentially how this kind of plays out. So every time you're coming up to a new movie, you're like, oh, I'm coming up to Top Gun. Oh, wow, here's stuff from Top Gun. So I think it has an added element from that all the way through. And then there's some other stuff just about his family. And if we get more detailed, we'll talk more about kind of maybe some of the broader strokes of kind of things that you may not have known about his life in general. But that stuff is really interesting, I think, especially if you're a fan of the movie, to think of. I was thinking, I don't know about you guys, as I was watching, I'm thinking like, I wonder if there's any footage from this movie. And then, oh,
Of course.
now we're in this movie. Cool. And I'm not going to say which ones, but if you like his movies, I think there's going to be something for everyone who likes his movies in this.
Yeah. Oh, I real quick. I think one thing I was kind of disappointed about, and granted, the movie can only, they only got so much time to get there, but they went deep dive into a lot of movies, but they didn't deep dive into all of the movies. I don't want to say which ones they just kind of glossed over,
Okay.
but there were some movies that they had the title of the movie and it just kind of went by. And I'm not going to say which one I was really hoping to hear about, but you'll know when you see it.
Well, I'm just, for you audio listeners, for you wonderful audio listeners who check us out on the podcast and not on YouTube, Eric Holmes was bringing out his DVD of the David Mamet directed and written film Spartan, which basically no one has seen, and I think it might be my favorite David Mamet film, and one of, if not my favorite, Val Kilmer performance, and I think it's probably his most underrated performance. I don't know, Bruce, you haven't seen Spartan yet, right?
Nope. Maybe I'll see it before Valapalooza.
Maybe it's a cut and dry film, and because Eric Holmes, he's very passionate about writing this movie. I think this is a little bit of a warning. I don't know if you agree with me on this, Eric. It's because it's Mamet, it's very writerly, it's very stylized in its writing. So it's one of these things where you're gonna really love it, or you might be left cold by it. So just wanted to. But since I think you're in the Mamet world as well, I think you got to really hop to it and really enjoy Spartan. So, Eric, should we have one or two choices next week, in a couple weeks for Valapalooza? Do you think we should just spotlight 3 movies or 6 movies? What do you think?
I was looking over his IMDb, and I think there'd probably be a lot of crossover. So maybe we just kind of zip through the IMDb and just kind of give a quick 1-2 of his movies. Well, that was a good one. Ghost in the Darkness, like that one. Next.
I'm definitely, here's the thing. I'm definitely going to rewatch The Ghost in the Darkness in a couple of weeks. And maybe each of us will watch at least one Val Kilmer movie for that week to recommend or not. And I'm assuming Eric's going to rewatch Spartan. And I think Bruce, you have. Yes.
I'll pick something to rewatch. Maybe some of our listeners would like to write in or send us a recording of some of their favorite stuff.
That would be fun.
That's
fun.
Great. Well,
you have 2 weeks, people. Come on now.
Okay, yeah, no, that's a great idea. Again, maybe I should just call Bruce Perky Idea Man, because that's another great idea from Bruce Perky. He's the one who thought of what's in the box. So and he's the one who actually remembered this is our 1-year freaking anniversary. So yeah, we're gonna actually get to our community. Tell us what Val Kilmer movies you would love for us to watch or rewatch. Bad confession for me. Real Genius. What does Bruce, what does Real Genius, Top Secret, and Willow have in common? And The Doors.
They're all movies
that Greg
should have seen already.
that Greg has yet to see. Can you believe that? That is.
Of those, I would see Top Secret first.
Yes.
And I hate Jim Morrison, but The Doors is pretty sweet.
Really? Okay, Eric. What are you trying to?
Actually, watching The Doors made me hate Jim Morrison. Anyone that I don't know how true it is, but if he actually did lock his girlfriend in a closet and light it on fire, let me just say I'm glad he's dead.
Okay, fair. That's fair enough.
If that's true, I don't know how true that is, but if he did that, you want to talk about Harvey Weinstein being a monster? That's a fucking that's a total that's a terrible thing to do to someone. That's basically trying to murder someone.
He was good in that though. Kilmer was good in the Doors.
Since we're talking about this, the Val Kilmer, they showed him doing the Mark Twain stuff, and he always wanted to do that movie, but he probably can't because of his voice.
Right.
I mean, there is Mark DeWidziak. He does do a pretty good Mark Twain. So maybe if Val Kilmer's listening to this, forget I said kill Jim Morrison because he's already dead. He's a piece of shit anyway. Mark the Woodziak is Mark Twain, directed and written by Val Kilmer. That could be a thing. Just throwing that out there.
You like that, Bruce? The pitch man, Eric. What do you think?
I do like that. I think that's great.
And by the way, Mark Dawidziak, if you want to learn more about Mark Dawidziak, there's a very in-depth interview with him by Bruce Purkey on his YouTube channel, Rustomeyer, which you can check out. Right, Bruce?
True. Very true.
Okay. Yeah, that was one of your favorite interviews, right? You interviewed him for how long? An hour or so?
Something like, yeah, hour and a half. He's really great. He's a really cool guy. I mean, you can listen to him talk. He's got videos on YouTube, and he can just go on about, especially about old horror movies, sci-fi, Night Stalker, Kolchak. Amazing stuff. Okay, so that is Val. Strong recommend for me. Solid, strong for you guys too. For Val.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Yep. I'd say solid. Yeah.
Solid recommend. Val. It hits theaters July 23rd. We will talk more about Val, the ins and outs of that documentary on the first week of August. And eventually we will also talk about some Val Kilmer films for you guys to also watch. Okay. Next up is a movie that Bruce and Eric have covered. They've watched because they actually have a personal connection. Sally Collette, they interviewed for that movie, Max Cloud. She was I think she was an actress in that movie and also a co-writer, right? Co-writer in that movie. Yeah. So she is a co-writer in the movie Twist. Bruce, take it away. What did you think? What is this movie about?
Yeah. So modern retelling of Oliver Twist. Got some pretty big actors in this. Michael Caine, Lena Headey? I don't know if I say her name right. From Game of Thrones. Rafferty Law is like the main dude, Twist. And I think he's Jude Law's son.
Yeah.
And then Sally Collette. Sally Collette is his mom early on. Yeah.
Yeah, very cool. Guess what, folks? You know what? What did I do last week, Eric Holmes? Do you remember what I did about How It Ends? Do you remember? Bruce, do you remember what I did? You're the archivist. What did I do?
We can't review this.
we couldn't review. Actually, last week, we should have possibly reviewed How It Ends because How It Ends, I was saying it comes out July 20th, and this Friday is, I believe, July 23rd. So we actually technically could have reviewed How It Ends, and you and I we're going to review How It Ends very, very soon. But you know what? I'm Asian. I should be good with math and numbers and numerology. I can say that, right? I know in this woke PC culture, I can say that since I'm Asian, I can make fun of myself. I hope so. Oh no, I think Eric and Bruce are cowering right now.
You're so racist. I mean, I'm so ashamed to know you. Go ahead.
Here's the twist.
I'm so white, I'm pink. I cannot.
Look at me. I'm paler than he is. Look at this.
Okay, well,
I can't chime in at all.
Listeners, cancel.
But I did say that But I did say I'm glad Jim Morrison's dead, so you ain't gonna say anything worse than that.
Go ahead. We're losing all our Doors fans and probably our Asian contingent by me making the math joke. Horrible. That's speaking of low-hanging fruit. But anyways, the twist is, Bruce, it hits theaters, digital, and on demand July 30th. Folks, we have another movie that we're going to be covering next week. It's called Twist. And this is the second week in a row that I have. Let me just say, this is an explicit show. And once in a while, I will say something that is very vulgar. I totally fucked up this week. Totally fucked up.
We are just really good at forward promoting. We're really good at forward promoting.
Yes, forward promoting. So
Greg, you cut out there for a second. What do you say again?
I really effed up.
Oh, you said effed up.
Okay. You're still cutting out. You're cutting out. Like part of the word's not coming through there.
I apologize. Deep apologies to Eric and Bruce. Here's the good news, guys. I'm going to eventually catch up with you on Twist. We will all cover Twist next week. By the way, Bruce was saying it stars Michael Caine, Lena Headey from Game of Thrones. And I apologize. Oh, also directed by Martin Owen. Martin Owen, the director behind Max Cloud. So we will revisit that next week. Much apologies to Bruce and Eric. I was going to say apologies to you, listeners. I'm not going to apologize to you, listeners. I'm just going to apologize to my buddies here. But I'm going to apologize to you as well.
Don't have to apologize to me. I get to watch Twist. I get to watch Sally Collette and Elliot Langridge for a little bit, and it was good stuff. But
no,
you don't know that because we're not reviewing it right now. Apparently.
Wait, but by the way, what is that? What is that? What is it called? That movie with Elliot Langridge that I definitely need to see. It's about soul.
Northern Soul, I think is what's called.
Yeah, Northern Soul. Yeah, should I watch that sooner than later, guys?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, Northern Soul. Okay, that might be another. How about this? Elliot Langridge in Northern Soul. That is basically our Max Cloud interviews. Bruce, you're going to say something about something. Were you going to say something? Okay, well, you're going to have to say something very soon because currently, in theaters and on premium video on demand right now, this week, we're finally reviewing it. It's called How It Ends.
What are you guys doing tonight? What's the story?
Sort of ticking off regrets one by one, you know.
Better get a rush on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, gonna go see Dad first.
Oh.
What are you going to do the rest of the day?
I'm gonna finish this sandwich, make another sandwich, eat that one, take a nap, take care of Manny, talk to him a little bit about his memories and stuff. I might just walk around the neighborhood.
Oh, so lovely to meet you.
Yeah, it's great to meet you too.
Listen, happy last day.
Hey, try to remember me like this.
No.
It's a joke.
That's not how you'll die,
No,
is it?
no.
No. You'll wait to explode like the rest of us.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
So
Okay.
nice to
Bye,
meet
guys.
you,
Nice to meet
Manny.
you.
Bye.
It's directed and produced by Daryl Wine and Zoe Lister-Jones. They are married. They're a couple. They create films together. Zoe Lister-Jones also is a lead actress in this movie. She plays Liza, a Los Angelino. She's living in Lala Land, and it's the last day on Earth. Eric, I apologize. You weren't able. Your screening link expired last week. I know that we only had a 48-hour window. My apologies on that. I'm apologizing to you for that. But Liza, she doesn't want to go out on the last day on Earth. She just wants to stay home, let the big whatever drop or everything explode, and be alone. But she actually, accompanying her on her journey to actually leave the house, is Cailee Spaeny, who plays literally the younger version of Liza. She plays her quote unquote inner child. So the most of the movie has the two Lizas played by Zoe Lister-Jones and Cailee Spaeny. By the way, Cailee Spaeny is amazing in this movie. Love her. She just has a great presence. Bruce, you're going to add to that in a second. But it's the two Lizas just walking around LA in a very desolate LA, and they meet just a random bunch of people. And that is the premise of How It Ends. This movie was shot in July 2020, right in the beginning or the first several months of the pandemic. So this was actually, obviously, they definitely get brownie points for actually trying to go out in LA and shoot in these kind of conditions. So that is it. How It Ends. Oh, also stars Fred Armisen, Whitney Cummings, Charlie Day, Helen Hunt, Nick Kroll, Lamorne Morris, Bradley Whitford, Colin Hanks, Finn Wolfhard, a lot, Bobby Lee. You see a lot of different cameos pop in and out of the movie. I really love this movie, really enjoyed this movie. It really spoke to me. I'm just, and Pauly Shore's in the movie as well. I was nervous. I'm nervous to see to hear what Bruce is going to say about what kind of judgment he's going to levy on How It Ends.
I was really doubtful when it started, but probably, I don't know, 15 or 20 minutes in, it started to work on me. And I ended up finding it to be really charming, like in a good way, charming, like the way it's trying to be. I could see some people reacting to this as like kind of hipstery.
Like me, I'm a good way charming, yeah. Right? Am I
yeah,
Eric?
Am I
okay.
You're a charming motherfucker is what I call you.
Okay, thank you.
I call him Chomo.
There you go. That works too.
Thank you.
FOMO for the Chomo. Anyway, so the thing is, what's really good about it is it has a simple premise, but it does it really well. And so the basic concept, and you didn't really kind of talk about this, is they're getting up. It's the last day on Earth. They're like, we're going to go to a party. It's our last day on Earth. We're going to have a party. We're going to have fun. We're going to do a good thing. They go out, walk out to the curb, and the car's been stolen because it's the last day on Earth. So people are just doing whatever. So like crap. And like we just talked about Walking in LA, this is a Walking in LA movie. That's really what this movie could be called. In fact, I sent you the video for Walking in LA. We're watching this, because essentially they're like, well, I guess we're going to walk. So it's really just this on location, not super flashy shot, anything. It's just pretty simple. The two versions of Liza, her current state and her young state, kind of just having these conversations. And every so often they encounter somebody either on purpose, like they're kind of making amends on the way, like, seeing their parents and stuff. But they're also just meeting random people who are dealing with the impending apocalypse in different ways, which makes it always interesting. It's almost like an anthology. Because in that sense, you keep meeting different people. So if one isn't working for you, it's only going to last for 5 or 10 minutes and you're going to move along and go to someone else. But honestly, the heart and soul of this are the two Lizas. And I think that's what really gives it its emotional core. And they're both great. I mean, the co-writer or co-director, I guess she is, and writer, right?
Yes.
And
yeah.
star, she's really great. But like you said, Cailee Spaeny is spectacular. And I knew her from she played a role in Devs, the miniseries Devs, which I've talked about. And in that, she plays possibly a young man. It's kind of, you don't know, but it identifies, or most commonly looks to identify as a young man, but it, might be trans person, might be a they. I don't know the correct terminology, but to see this totally different type of role and to see her be so effective here and so effective there in totally different kind of roles makes me think this is a person to kind of watch for sure. This is good. This is fun. This is also light. This is one of those like you can't really go wrong with kind of movies.
Also, little spoiler alert: if you love the music of Sharon Van Etten, I believe there is a musical moment in How It Ends, which is undoubtedly. Oops, sorry. That was a. So you see that that was my iPhone slowly falling down a book. That's a nice audio. Let me try that one more time. Yeah, there you go. Sharon Van Etten. I'm going to say it one more time. Sharon Van Etten sequence is sublime and beautiful. And if only just to see that moment, I would definitely recommend How It Ends. But like, great review, Bruce. Really, overall, a very light movie with a little bit of dark underpinnings. But overall, the darkness doesn't really overwhelm How It Ends, which is very funny because it's the last day on Earth. It should be dark, right? But there's a very interesting light and embracing humanity tone that I enjoyed. I enjoyed How It Ends. So
can we also agree there needs to be a whole hell of a lot more Helen Hunt, like in everything?
Yeah.
Why in the hell is she not in more movies? Because she just did that recent movie that we liked. What was that movie called? The weird
mystery thriller one?
Yes.
Oh yeah, whatever that was so good. Eric, did you see that Helen Hunt crime thriller thing? I forgot what it was called.
Oh, it has a really weird name, like You Aren't Here or Where Are You?
Yeah.
Or it's something.
Oh, Eric, you haven't seen it. Oh my goodness, Eric.
But I mean, and she just does little. There's always little scenes in here with different people, and she can just hit a scene. Once again, we were talking about how when you see a great actress or actor compared to someone who's trying really hard but isn't quite up to the task, she's just effortlessly amazing. In like a 10-minute or less sequence here, you're just like, okay, yeah, Helen Hunt, she's great.
Eric, I agree. Eric Holmes.
What's the name of the movie?
Get Thee to a Nunnery. Get Thee to a Nunnery right now. Look up
Get Thee to
I
a
mean,
Nunnery?
it's a poetic reference. I apologize. I'm not going to use that. No, it's called
You.
I See You. I see you too. It's just I See You. ISEEU.
With Stallone?
I See You.
That's not bad.
No, not that one.
Not?
There's another. No. There's another one called I See You. Yeah.
Oh.
And it's not PCU. It's not ICU. It's ICU, and it's a very.
Oh, okay. She played Jackie Harper.
It'll keep you let's just say it'll keep you guessing. And we're recommending the movie, and Helen Hunt is in it, but there are things about this movie that you're gonna go, oh, I did not see that. Oh, I didn't see that coming, and I didn't see that. Oh, and I didn't get anything right. So you're gonna. I think is that how you felt, Bruce? Were you over?
This is
over 20.
One of those. Movie? This is our like added review suggestion for the week. Yeah, this is one of those movies that's like it feels like it fits into that weird, almost De Palma-esque kind of like twisty thriller that is maybe not as stylish as De Palma, but it has that kind of bonkers, like almost preposterous, like plot when you think about it. If you talk this plot out to somebody, they're like, really? But it's just so much fun and so weird and so like twisty and odd.
And we covered that for this show?
No, we did not. No, this is one of those movies that
I was like, I know my memory's bad, but I'm just blanking on everything you're talking about.
No, we didn't cover it. And one of these things, it's one of those movies. I think Anderson was covering it on the Film Vault. He was talking about The Beast or The Beast of War, about a movie that's
awesome.
Oh, you love that movie. You've always known The Beast is an awesome movie, right? Okay, so
yeah,
this is one of those movies, Bruce. I don't know if you agree with me. Like movies like I See You, they just get lost in the algorithm of whether you're Amazon Prime Video or Netflix, and unless you see it within a 6-month window, it's gonna get buried, and people will forget about it. So I'm glad that you mentioned how awesome Helen Hunt is. Also, another thing about Helen Hunt and How It Ends. Yes, more Helen Hunt. What could she have done with How It Ends, though? Her character, she plays the mother in this movie. She is so skilled, and she has to hold her power. She has to hold back everything that she has, and that's just so hard when you're as talented as her. She's just a master. But I shouldn't use the word master, right, Eric? I think you said last week, don't use the word. She is such an expert in her craft. Okay, she's a craftian. I just made up a word. She's a craftian. folks? Is that a word, Bruce? Craftian? Or what do you think?
It is now.
It is
Sure, it's a craftian.
Okay. So how
Chomo just coined another phrase.
Okay, thank you so much for that. I think I like Chomo. It's very good. In select theaters this week, How It Ends. It's also on premium video on demand. I'm assuming Bruce Berkey, solid recommend for you.
It is a
for How
solid
It Ends?
recommend. Now, am I wrong? I thought it was on Apple TV Plus too.
Oh, and Apple TV. Oh yeah, available everywhere. Thank you. And again, every single week you guys have to correct me because I'm usually wrong 99% of the time. So by the way, listeners, if you're listening to Find Your Film, we're about 99.99% inaccurate unless Bruce or Eric chimes in, just FYI. So again, and if you want to actually check in our
I'm sorry. We're 99.7%.
And also,
I
by the
believe
way,
we're 66.9%.
That's right. 96.96, 69.9.
And we're the only podcast that will at least every week get one movie release date wrong. So you got to come back just to see the error-filled hijinks that Greg is going to do. So again, that is How It Ends this week. Thankfully, we finally finished that review. Available everywhere and in select theaters this week. Thank you, Bruce, for that correction. Now we're going to our recommendations. Bruce, what is your recommendation? We're skipping over you, Eric, because you don't have one, right? You don't have a recommendation this week.
I do, but I guess we're doing that next week. So.
Oh, wait. The assassination.
The twist.
Oh, the twist. Yeah.
Okay. I will say that I did watch the Spartacus again with the Dalton Trumbo. Look, this will be my recommendation. If you can find the Criterion version of Spartacus, and let's say you have no desire at all to watch Spartacus, you should. It's an awesome movie. But let's say I don't want to fucking watch that. The movie looks boring and looks stupid. Doesn't matter. That I'm so glad Anderson found that commentary, that Dalton Trumbo commentary, because it is delightful.
And you can find that on YouTube, right? Dalton commentary on YouTube regarding Spartacus.
I don't know about YouTube. I because I had the regular Spartacus DVD,
got it. Yeah.
And I went and got the Criterion at Entertainment, heyo, and I put it in.
Okay.
I put it in. I just was like, doing some editing and just listening to the commentary, and it's like, this is so good. Oh my god, this is so good.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay, so that is a Criterion shout out to Spartacus from Eric Holmes. That is his recommendation this week. Now we are venturing back to Los Angeles for Bruce Berkey's weekly recommendation. Tell us about La La Land, what you thought of it, why you loved it, et cetera, et cetera. Hopefully you loved it.
Yeah, well, this is kind of like, was it last week? Eric was talking about Shazam and how, everyone's seen Shazam, but I watched it and I really liked it. And this is kind of my version of that. And that is, I finally got around to La La Land. And it's one of those movies, it's how every so often you have a movie, I meant to see it. I think I'd like this movie. I keep meaning to see it. Everyone says it's great. And you just never get to it for one reason or another. So I was out looking at used DVDs and Blu-rays, and I saw La La Land for $7. And I'm like, the Blu-ray, I'm like, well, it's a no-brainer. I'll get La La Land and I'll watch it, which I did. Yay. So as we said before, Damien Chazelle from Whiplash, of course. And I mean, this, I guess this is how I'd approach it. If you've already seen it and already love it, then there isn't much for you to know about this other than, yay, someone else loves it too. So for the people who maybe are reticent about it, because it's a muse, of course, you got Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone, who everyone knows has great chemistry and are awesome at what they do. I think one thing to know about this movie is, sure, it has musical numbers, and I'd say it's heavier at the front, maybe third with musical numbers. But I think that you should also know that this is not like one of those musicals where everything is sung, like The Umbrellas of Cherbourg, which they talk about as the inspiration. That is all sung. This has a story.
That can be annoying if you don't love it.
Yeah, if you don't like that, that's going to throw you off. This movie, I mean, a lot of musical numbers are so integrated that they aren't really these big, giant, standalone set pieces. There are a few of those in here, but there's a lot of this that is just a straight up great romance. And also one of those kind of movies that's a love letter to Hollywood, and of course to musical Hollywood, but to Hollywood in general, and just to the city, to old Hollywood movies. I mean, this is just, it's gorgeous and amazingly, photographed. It's amazing choreography. It's just
you don't see those colors
magical
anymore.
Movies. Yeah, it's a magical movie that's truly magical. Like I was reading all the I don't know if you've done this, Eric or Greg, like going through all the trivia, right? And they're talking about how they recorded all the piano stuff, because in this Ryan Gosling's a jazz piano player, And then he would practice for hours and hours so he could finger the keyboard exactly like it's supposed to be done. And eventually they said, yeah, he fingered the keyboard. You hear that?
Okay, there's a reason why. I
He's
guess there's a reason why
he's a gentle lover. Come on now, move along.
I guess there's a reason why we all love Mandibles, because we're all 11. So I'm sorry, Bruce. Go ahead.
I was trying to I don't want to say it. So, anyway, he got to the point where they were like mad at him because he actually could play the piano pretty damn well. And same thing with dancing, dancing here, and they make it look like they've been dancing for years. And it's just, there's some really cool stuff too. Like I was reading, there's a scene at sunset. So that sky is kind of that purplish sky behind them. You've probably seen the photos where they're up on the Hollywood Hills and the cities behind them. And they had to shoot that within a small time span of, maybe a 30-minute time span. They had to do that whole scene uncut, for several nights in a row until they got the perfect shot. That's the kind of stuff you want to see in classic filmmaking. So I mean, and one last thing, one little trivia piece, and then you guys can chime in what you think of it. There's a shot at the studio backlot where she tells him, she hates jazz. This is when they're early meeting, and it's exactly the same backdrop that was used for the photograph of the two people shaking hands in Wish You Were Here. It's the exact same backdrop. It's just really cool. Little stuff like that.
Very cool. Eric, did you love this movie as much as Bruce did?
Yeah, well, I never actually saw it because, like I mentioned, I took my sister to see it, and we got the tickets to see La La Land, but then they played Moonlight instead, and I was like, well, I guess we're watching this. That did not really happen. Yeah, La La Land's really good, though.
Oh, very cool. I was like, that would have been a good alternate universe because I actually enjoyed Moonlight, but
something like that did happen though. When American Psycho came out, me and a bunch of people went to, it's like, oh dude, that movie looks cool, let's go watch it. And we all went there, and they started playing American Beauty, and I knew it right away because I had seen American Beauty earlier that week, and I'm like, oh, this isn't American Psycho, I think we're in the wrong theater. And then we're checking and we go outside. Like, no, this is American Psycho. I'm like, no, this is American Beauty. I saw this earlier this week, and then the movie started playing for about 10 minutes, and the person came out. It's like, sorry, we got a little mix up here. If you want, we'll buy you free tickets for the next one, but if you stick around, and we stuck around, so that was fun.
That was fun. That is very cool. And you got the free tickets, so that's not bad. La La Land, I think, along with the beautiful, just the Technicolor just color palette and fingering the pianos and tickling the ivories, all those wonderful things that they do in La La Land, is the ending. And this is sacrilege. The ending of the Umbrellas of Cherbourg, okay, is very memorable and heartbreaking. The ending of La La Land, in my opinion, and this is probably not a popular opinion, trumps the ending of the Umbrellas of Cherbourg. The way it's constructed, because the final act, the final 7-8 minutes or something, is its own little movie, and that movie, it kills you. It's a knockout. It's a knockout what they do, and you never expect it. You're just total gut punch.
It's a knockout. It's a knockout thematically and in story, but it's also a knockout in presentation, in the way it's presented. So it's a double whammy, and we're not going to say what it is exactly. So if you haven't seen it, then you can still enjoy that ending. I agree absolutely what you said, because it takes the concept of the ending of Umbrellas of Cherbourg, keeps it, but gives it a little twist, which is what we both really love, the twist. But in that presentation of the twist, it does all of these homages to famous musicals. I mean, there's an homage to, and I'm not telling you what happens in this, but there's an homage to American in Paris? There's a whole bunch of other stuff going on there. So this is one of those value-added movies that I could see you watching it on just a surface level of the story itself as a musical and being like, I love this. It's really emotional and beautiful. And then as you know more and more and more about movies, there's so much to be had here because there's so many connections to Hollywood, Yeah.
A lot of connections to Hollywood, a lot of layers to be had. Final movie. We're going to wrap it up with Bruce Perky's What's in the Box. But before we do that, Eric, what is Pete going to do?
Hey, yo, Pete, drop that beat.
Who's in the box? What's in the box? You lie! No! What's in the fucking box?
Okay, Bruce, what you got? I don't even know how to pronounce this name or whatever this is.
I'll do my best at this one. Now, this was suggested, and I forgot to write their names down, so you might have it off the top of your head. But the two filmmakers that made The Penny Black, when we talked to them, they suggested this movie because we had talked to them a lot about the truthfulness, or was there a fakery, or was it a real documentary, or what was the veracity there? And he said, well, this would be a great movie for you to watch because it involves some of those things as well. And it's from 1968, I believe, and it's called Symbiopsychotaxiplasm Take One by William Greaves. It's the director, writer, co-star, HBO Max, Criterion. You can find this. Once again, it's not a very long movie. That's a good thing. I didn't write down how long it is. I think it's like a minute, an hour 20, something like that. Hour 20 minutes, something like that. The beginning of the movie is it's very cinema verite style. Like it's very much like on the streets, real settings. It almost looks like it could be documentary. It starts out and you just have like 2 or 3 versions of the same dramatic scene between a couple, but it's being acted out by different couples. So you're like, okay, is this like a screen test, or is this a, acting class? What is this? And then it cuts to the director, and he's being filmed talking to the film crew about the scenes they're going to work on and what they're trying to do. So there's 2 cameras that are going to be filming the scenes. They get 2 angles, and there's another camera that's filming them film. And sometimes, and you'll like this, Greg, sometimes it'll go to 3 screens. Like it'll like fade into 3 screens, or then maybe the middle screen will come out and become a full screen, or it'll just be 1 screen.
Love that.
So you get that kind of whole like a split screen, triple screen kind of thing going on, which is kind of fun. So you see the same thing from 3 different angles. And as you're watching it, you start to discover, oh, they keep trying the same scene over and over and over again. They keep trying to do the same scene. They're in Central Park and they might be doing the scene, and then the actors will stop and complain, or maybe a cop and will come into the scene and ask for their papers to show that they have a permit. So, and as you're watching it, just like we were talking about, you're starting to wonder like, now, is this real, or is this part of the fake? That looks like a real police officer. And then like about, I don't know, 15 minutes in, it cuts to a scene where it's the crew, and the crew are all just sitting around a room, and they're talking about the filmmaker, and they're talking about what they don't like about the filmmaker and what the filmmakers, and how they want to do something different. So it becomes this weird this weird juxtaposition of hidden camera meets actual cameras meets a meta commentary on filmmaking. And there's a whole subtext of like male-female relationships, because the scene they keep playing over and over again is about a wife who's angry at her husband because he's not attentive to her anymore because she's saying he's gay. There's a lot of slurs, unfortunately, because it's made in 1968, so be aware of that.
About 50 of them, if I can.
Yeah.
Correctly.
Did you watch it?
I did.
All right. I'll shut up in a second, then let Eric chime in. I think it's really interesting. I don't say this is like this is experimental. So I think it's really interesting, and it's not that long. So if it sounds interesting to you, I think you'll find it interesting. I wouldn't say it's like spectacular. I don't think it's going to really engage you emotionally, especially. But there is a scene towards the end where a homeless person kind of comes into the scene, which is pretty amazing. Anyway, go ahead, Eric. What do you think?
Yeah, I didn't quite get it at first, because at least for someone as simple as myself, it took a while. Like I don't understand what this is, and then it started going. I'm like, oh, okay, I see what they're doing here. It seemed like a neat gimmick, or like a neat kind of it's experimental. So, but
is it fun though to watch? It seems like an exercise. The way
it kind of is, because this has kind of some characters in it. Not quite as good as Mandibles. In Boogie Nights, whenever they do the behind the scene, the parts in Boogie Nights where they're shooting the porn.
Yeah,
this whole movie's kind of those scenes from Boogie Nights. It's just the crew and the actors all talking to each other, and some of it's funny, some of it's quite offensive. So trigger warning to almost everybody.
That's why I wanted to mention that for sure.
But if you can get over that, if you can't, I completely understand. But if you can't get over that, I mean, there's some interesting stuff to this. At the same time, say after about the first 20 minutes, I think you can kind of get the point. If that's fair to say, it's kind of like a neat challenge, or neat kind of thing to do, and it's fun to watch. The characters are fun, but it's I didn't get anything real deep out of it. I think I read that Steven Soderbergh or someone was like, oh my god, this thing was like, I was like, I slowly roll a little bit. Basically, you don't want to oversell this. This movie would be very easy to oversell, and then someone would watch this and go, I don't see what the big deal is. But if you kind of just like, oh yeah, check it out, I think people could have a lot of fun with it.
This has made my suggestion, just like you said. So, I mean, I kind of found most entertaining thing was the 2 actors and kind of watching them go over and try to figure it out. If this is kind of interesting to you, but doesn't have enough meat on the bones, I would say if you kind of like the concept, but you wanted to be told in an entertaining, actual fashion that would actually engage you and lead to something, then I would go watch One Cut of the Dead, because One Cut of the Dead is the like fun, energetic, and really cool and ultimately affirming and joyous version of this.
And to Symbiopsychotaxiplasm's
Wow, amazing.
credit.
You got the title right. How did you do that? That's
Take
amazing.
one. Sorry.
On the first take.
But to Symbiopsychotaxiplasm's credit, One Cut of the Dead, maybe that movie doesn't exist without something like this. So, I mean, in that respect, it's definitely commendable. And it's not a bad movie. I just think this movie, like if you look up what people say about it, they treat it as if it's the second coming of Christ, and it's not. But that doesn't mean it's bad. I just think that this movie is way too easy to oversell.
Well, this movie is worth watching.
It's definitely definitely worth watching.
Okay.
Definitely worth watching. Again, with the trigger warnings, but it's also easy to oversell just because it's trying something new, especially when this come out, like 69 or
68.
something.
Oh, okay, fine. The summer of So
69.
The Penny Black filmmakers are director William J. Saunders and co-producer Alexander Greer. They recommended this to Bruce for his What's in the Box segment. Were they trying to tip their hat to you, or tip their hand regarding their love for that film and its relevance to the Penny Black? Maybe
I was thinking of the Penny Black while watching this, and the main thing that came up was when we were trying to we couldn't figure out if the Penny Black was real or not. And the Symbiopsychotaxiplasm is you can tell that they're acting in certain parts because that's what it's supposed to be. But then when the camera goes back and it's supposed to be the documentary part, that's not supposed to be. And so there's parts where like, oh yeah, this must be the real documentary portion. Wait, no, none of this is real. Damn. So it's like kind of the exact opposite of Penny Black, but it gets in that what's real, what's not sort of headspace.
I'll say there's even a point in there to talk to that exact point. There's a point when you could be like, oh, this other part is the real documentary. And then when the crew is sitting around, one of the crew people says like, but I could be lying. I could have just been told by the director to come in here and say what I'm saying right now. It even tells you in the movie like to doubt itself. So it does the same thing the Penny Black does. It doesn't let you know for sure, so it doesn't help you.
Yeah, I wonder, listeners, if we have the Penny Black filmmakers, William J. Saunders and Alexander Greer. You can check that out on our podcast feed. They really go in depth with the Penny Black. I still, at the end of the interview, I still had no idea if the documentary is fake or not. I just had.
They could be totally lying to us. You know this, right?
Right. What do you think, Eric? Did that clear anything up for you? It didn't clear anything up for me or Bruce. Well,
I took them at their word that it was a real documentary.
Okay.
But he did have us watch this.
Right? That's what I'm thinking.
He didn't want to say
you.
Oh, the plot thickens. He didn't want to come on a podcast and say, no, it's a fake documentary. And the people hear that and they go watch the Penny Black. It's a fake documentary. But he told us to watch this, which is to say the Penny
and
Black,
now we
totally
become pawns. We become
really
pawns. We're working for him now.
We're pawns. Now, William J. Saunders, Alexander Greer. They could have just said they could have just told us to watch friggin' Silverado, right? And just make us forget about the whole layers, but they throw this movie at us, right? I have to watch the movie now.
Cats and dogs living together. I don't know what to believe anymore.
Very cool.
I'm going to take them at their word, but we'll just say, yeah, I think the mystery is still afoot.
The mystery is still afoot. All right, Bruce. I've just realized that the Peter Beta track, I always misdrop it. I drop it at the beginning of what's in this. We should be putting the Peter Beta drop right before. And just because it's so whack that I've been doing it for the last 5 weeks, I'm just going to keep it always at the beginning. Forget it. It's not going to come in at the right time. We love you, Pete, from Middle Class Film Class. Bruce, what is your pick? Oh, Eric, you have to say the 7 stuff. What's in the box? What's in the...
John Doe's got the upper hand. What's in the box?
What's in the box?
Look, we're getting all the filmmaker picks, because you know what? I haven't refed this box for a long time because I eventually have to get to my kid's turd choice. He's angry every week because I don't pick it. But we got another filmmaker. We have Alice Doyard.
Oh,
remember Alice Doyard from Colette?
Oh, okay, yes.
And she suggested Les Maîtres du Temps, The Time Masters, by director René Laloux. It's an animated film, I do believe. And that will be really cool. I've never seen that. And I might reach out to her and see if she has any comments to make about this. We'll see if she's floating around out there.
Very cool. That is very, very cool. And I have one more
Oscar winner.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
By the way, Quentin Dupuis or from Mandibles I forgot. He actually has a movie to put in What's in the Box for you, Bruce.
I know. It's already in there.
Oh, I'm just such a. I just what I told. Did I message you that? Did I? Yeah. So
Yeah,
listeners,
you did.
Yeah. So listeners, Eric, did you know what the movie that he picked for? So he picked, his choice was the Coen Brothers film Raising Arizona. So
All right.
So yeah, not a bad choice. Not a bad choice.
I'll just be taking these Huggies and whatever cash you got.
You got a panty on your head.
I haven't seen that movie in about 25 years. I definitely have to rewatch that.
He's not too good. There's a little bit of a outlaw in him. I can tell.
I'm assuming these are all. What's better, Raising Arizona or the last movie that the Coen Brothers did, that anthology? I just can't remember.
Oh, Buster Scruggs?
Yeah, Buster Scruggs. No, you can't. I mean, Raising Arizona is a classic, right? So Buster Scruggs is.
It is, but Buster Scruggs is really good too.
Buster Scruggs is really good. Buster Scruggs has variety though, because Buster Scruggs is an anthology.
Right, that's true. Yeah.
So it's got a little bit of everything, and it's got.
But Raising Arizona's got John Goodman and Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, Raising Arizona probably is a little bit better.
I'm not gonna vote.
You're not gonna vote. Obviously, Bruce, you guys know me. My favorites are Blood Simple and The Man Who Wasn't There. Those are my favorite Coen. And then No Country for Old Men. All of those kind of Coen Brothers movies. And then obviously you got to throw in Miller's Crossing. So those are my hard-boiled crime movies that I love.
I only vote for the lesser of two evils. I don't vote for the better of two greats.
There you go. That's quotable. Anything you guys want to say before we're done? We're done, folks. I promise next week I'm gonna make those release dates correct, folks. I promise you're gonna hear Bruce and Eric and me chime in on Twist whether that movie's good. In 2 weeks we have the Nicolas Cage thing. Also early next week I'll be putting up good.
Good.
Oh, very
good. I didn't say nothing. We can't review it. Go ahead.
And then of course early next week I'll be putting up the Billy Jack interview. Eric, you want to say anything before we go? Any other thoughts?
Yeah, we got a fun Green Knight thing coming out really soon with William Lindis, Peter Beta, and some more friends. And so stay tuned for that. That'll be coming out real soon.
Yeah, Eric Holmes has been really working very hard on that. And are you guys going to be watching the Green Knight when it comes out July 30th in your local theater?
And I hope that hell's good. that would suck to spend all this time doing this Green Knight RPG thing. It's like, oh, this is so awesome. And then watch the movie, it's like, oh.
Oh, that would totally suck.
Man.
All right, guys. And Dune's coming out soon. Dune's coming out on October 22nd, which is my birthday. So that'll be a super duper fun day.
Isn't the new the guy who did Chappie, he's got his new demonic movie coming out?
Demonic movie coming out very, very, very
soon.
Oh
yeah.
Yeah, that should be really good stuff. How old do you turn on October 22nd, Eric?
I don't know, probably 45, I think.
45. Wow. Bruce, remember that age? Remember that age when we were
I was born in 70. I was born in 77, so do the math. I'm sure I'm way off.
You're gonna be 44, Eric. You just made us even more depressed. Thank you.
You know what? I've been 69 for the last 15 years.
I turned 50 on September 11th. So, and again, so Bruce. Well, by the way, if you want anyone to remember dates, just tell Bruce. Bruce, you now have it in your computer brain when our birthdays are, so you can remind us when we start recording our show when our birthdays are. We are celebrating our 1 year of Find Your Film. Before that, we were the short-lived Movie Mainline podcast with Louis Lacow. Shout out to Louis. Whatever you're doing out there, we love you. And before we go, Bruce Perky, as per usual, words of wisdom before we are out of here.
I just want to say that I love you guys so much that I will make sure before the next episode to bring you guys a beautiful bunch of bananas.
Excellent. With that, folks. Oh, very good.
Got it.
Visual. You just got it, folks. Folks, if you really want to get that in joke, you're gonna have to watch one of our featured reviews. Until then, we'll see you guys next week.